Howdy y'all. Today's review is going to be a tent review. This is the Designs ZIA 3. I will try to put all the technical specs and stuff down below or give you a link to REI, which is where I purchased this. Now this is somewhat of a rushed review, simply because I normally have tents and other gear longer. I only got this in late spring, and my initial purchase of this was for wildland fire use, and the secondary use is also because of Max's injuries. I have not been taking him on any hiking adventures, so a couple times I need more of a car camping tent. Now they do advertise this as a backpacking tent at 6 pounds or whatever it is, fully loaded. It is a 3-person tent. Generally 2 people use a 3-person tent. So you can divide that up into about 3 pounds each if you split up the poles and the fly and the tent body and stuff. But let me pull this out and get it erected. I'm not gonna do a how-to or anything, but it is a little bit more complicated than some of the other tents, and you'll see in just a second. Alright, we got it set up. It takes a little bit longer than some of the newer fast clip tents, especially because this is basically a 4-pole, which is some of where the weight comes in. Also, you may hear traffic in the background. I'm not terribly far off of a scenic highway, and it is Saturday, so I don't want to give you an illusion I'm in the middle of nowhere or anything. But like I said, this is my car camping tent. And let me just take out the tripod here and kind of show you. My main reason for getting this was the wildland fire, but I couldn't bring myself to buy a tent strictly just for wildland fire. I wanted to be able to use it in other places, so it really needed to have a lot of living space, was my main criteria for the wildland fire tent. And that's where this really comes into play. Now normally, the Sierra Designs does have a lighter tent that only has a single ridge pole and the 2 hoops. It's in their Lightning series. I believe some of the fabric is a little bit lighter. You save on a little bit of ounces. From the reviews I read, that single pole that goes over the spine really doesn't keep the fly off the side of the tent, and so you collect a lot of dew and moisture, and it kind of gets sucked down on there. But as you can see, you've got near vertical side portions. There's a little bit of hooping here, and then one of the reasons it almost comes out past vertical, as you can see, it sort of has this hawkbill sort of angle at this, and it really opens up more than vertical the doors, and it gives you a lot of headroom, a lot of space to bandage, do your own little baths. You have plenty of privacy, but plenty of living space. Only issue is there's nothing really in the middle, so the middle will sag a little bit. You can attach this onto the fly and pull the fly out, and we'll get to the fly in a little bit. The middle hub pole design is basically a swivel, and the top piece clips onto that. These end pieces are an interesting little ball jack that kind of swivels on the ends, but that really helps pull this out. So I do think the Lightning is a little bit lighter than the ZIA 3. But the ZIA 3, I think, really utilizes that space of living space there. As you can see, you've got 2 doors. We'll go in there in a second. 2 nice, real big doors. When you get the fly on, you'll see one is a little bit bigger vestibule than the other, and designed as sort of a secondary, but you do have entrance on both sides. Pretty standard. On the size of the tent, as we get in here, I'll give you the dimensions down below, but you can see I've still got an MRE spoon in here. But I am a pretty tall guy. I did look at the REI Quarter Dome Plus series that is a little bit longer, but this being a 3-person tent, I was able to kind of scoot sideways and still have plenty of room for gear and bags and buckets and stuff. But you do get 2 gear pockets, one in that corner, one in that corner. They do not touch the floor, which I really appreciate. Some gear pockets do touch the floor, and so any moisture on the floor gets sucked up right into those gear pockets and kind of defeats the purpose. There is a gear loft that is included. You can see it's a pretty good size. It is strange that there's no clips. You have to tie knots on the string, so it's kind of a cost saving spot. This tent is originally $200 and some. I bought it this spring at REI's garage sale for $130, I think, $140. One of the other things that I won't really show you is an interesting thing is the footprint is included. It is not an extra. So you need to factor that into your cost. Anytime you buy a newer tent, typically $20 to $30 is the footprint. Most people get the footprint just for wear and tear, and so they can hold up, you know, protect the bottom of the tent. I honestly didn't have time to really use the footprint, so that's kind of a testament to how well the bottom of this is constructed, because I haven't had any rips or holes, and I was in some rocky area and frankly just too tired to clear out an area. I told myself if I was the last one to set up and take down this tent that I would ditch it, but that never happened. So it is slightly more complicated to put up. Like I said, these main hoops are pretty easy. They're easy clips. Where the hub pole comes in, there is kind of a funky C-clip that goes over both of these, and then you run this elastic around and lock it on, so it's pretty stable. It doesn't slide up and down. You know, you can lift up the tent. There's no structural issues with the tent. So I really, once you get used to it, it's pretty quick setup. They do a decent job color coding the bands, the blue for the blue pole, gray for the gray pole, and then the gunmetal poles are the main loops. And same with the fly. You have gray here and blue down here. Speaking about stake, they do come with the cheap, cheesy aluminum stakes, and they only gave me 5. It really has about 8 tie-out points, and there were times we were on top of ridges for the wildland fire where I really wanted to stake it down. So basically, you know, bushcraft came in, I got sticks and rocks and you know, the paracord, and we got this thing secured, because the last thing you need is to come back from a 16-hour day and see your tent up in a tree or ripped to shreds because of the windstorm that kicked up and moved the fire all around. So a lot of people don't stake their tents down. I convinced a few to do that, and they were thanking me afterwards. And let me get the fly on so you can kind of see how the overall structure looks. All right, I want to show you as I'm putting this fly on, there are a couple Velcro loops that secure the fly onto the pole. It's sort of a four-season mountaineering technique that a lot of tents are doing now. It keeps this very large fly from moving around very much, and I did utilize that. It doesn't take but a second. Of course, I'm one-handed here. 1 second to attach this, and now your fly is structurally attached to your pole. Okay, so as well as those side poles, like I mentioned, you have a guy out point here to really help pull that fly off the tent body. You have a stake out point just below that if you need to stake it out. Then you can actually, with that clip that I showed you earlier, the fly is now attached to the tent. So when you guy this out, it is actually pulling on the tent on the inside. And you guy that out and you can actually stake that bottom. As I mentioned, I only got 5 stakes. So not sure why. You know, your main square body, you want 4 on all 4 corners. You want 1 for each vestibule. That is 6. And then you really want 8 to at least guy that out to give you more living space to pull the tent fly off the tent body. You know, 10 if you want to secure both the bottom and the guy out point. There was guy out ropes and stuff that came with it. They have little reflective loops on here, so you can guy this in windy storms. I did convince a few guys to stake their tents down. Initially they didn't want to, partially for laziness, not really why. You know, they wouldn't. I think they thought with their gear in there they wouldn't go anywhere, but there was a couple windy days where they were very thankful that I convinced them to do that, because we got back and some people's tents had blown over, some had ripped, poles had broken because they had bought basically cheap Walmart stuff. And I will tell you, the cheaper Walmart stuff seemed to be working for a lot of the guys. The fiberglass poles, you know, they're about $40. They are a little bit taller, typical dome tents, But again, I didn't want to put any money towards something I wasn't going to use again. And this thing is held up through rainstorms, windstorms. There's enough living space in there where 4 guys can play cards and shoot the shit, have dinner, wait out a rainstorm, and then fall back to your own tents if you need. Like I said, there's 2 vestibules. That you're actually looking at the smaller one over here. I just have it staked out there. There is plenty of cooking living space for boots, packs, etc. You know, the doors roll up and clip out of the way. So it's a nice pass-through design. There's plenty of mesh for 3-season camping. And I really haven't had any issues with it. Other than the cheap aluminum stakes that it came with. And the fact that they only sent me 5. That's easily rectifiable with other MSR groundhogs and things like that. Really happy with the overall value of this tent, being that it was, when I got it on sale, that is, at 140 bucks or whatever. And check REI, it seems to be on sale there a lot. You know, plenty of living space, a decent weight. You could pack with it if you had the weight to split. It's been, I don't know how many years since I've actually packed a 6-pound tent. So initially this is going to be my car camping setup and my wildland fire setup, as I said before. So I think I've pretty much covered everything. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And primary purpose of this rush review, I've got other tents that I'm still testing in 2 years in my possession that I didn't want to initially put out a review until I'd really thoroughly done it. But I'm in the middle of doing the videos of all my wildland fire gear, so I know I'm going to have questions. So you may see this in future videos, and this is the Sierra Designs ZIA 3, and I thank you for your time.